Previously, what started as a contract turned into stolen kisses, late-night confessions, and a love too powerful to hide. Against all odds, the exhausted doctor and the dazzling heiress chose each other, sealing it with vows under glowing fairy lights. Link is in the description for part 1. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Maya Ortiz felt truly completely safe. The frantic chatter in her mind dissolved into quiet static, then into blessed nothingness. She drifted off, not into the usual fitful, anxious doze, but into a deep, dreamless, profoundly peaceful sleep. Aurora held her, wide awake in the dim green light. She listened to Maya's breathing deepen and even out, felt the utter relaxation finally claim her. A fierce protectiveness surged through Aurora, mingled with a tenderness so profound it ached. She pressed a feather-like kiss to Maya's hair, seeing Maya vulnerable, trusting her enough to surrender like this. It was a gift Aurora hadn't known. She craved. She tightened her hold infinitesimally, committing the feel of Maya safe in her arms to memory. The princess stood guard over her sleeping doctor, a silent vow forming in the quiet hum of the night. This woman, exhausted and magnificent, was hers to protect, to cherish. The inheritance felt distant, irrelevant. This Maya's trust, her warmth, her peace, was the real treasure. The turning point wasn't dramatic. It was this quiet, profound moment of surrender and sanctuary in a hospital break room. Maya had fallen asleep. Aurora knew with absolute certainty that she herself was falling hard and irrevocably in love. Part 7. Passion Awakens. The quiet sanctuary of the breakroom cuddle became a seismic shift. A barrier Maya hadn't fully acknowledged shattered, replaced by a raw, exhilarating hunger. The exhaustion that usually cloaked her like a lead blanket became a strange kind of fuel, stripping away inhibition, amplifying sensation, making every touch, every glance feel electric and urgent. The carefully constructed distance Aurora had initially maintained dissolved completely, replaced by a magnetic pull neither could resist. Maya found herself acting on impulses that would have horrified her reserved preclar self. One afternoon, rounding a corner near radiology, she spotted Aurora leaning against a wall, scrolling through her phone, waiting patiently as promised. Without a second thought, Maya closed the distance in 3 long strides. Ignoring the passing orderly pushing a linen cart, she cuped Aurora's face in both hands, still slightly chilled from washing, and kissed her. It wasn't a gentle peck. It was deep, claiming, fueled by the adrenaline still buzzing from a tricky incubation and the sheer, overwhelming relief of seeing Aurora there. Aurora gasped against her lips, startled, then melted instantly. Her phone forgotten, her hands coming up to grip Maya's hips, pulling her closer. The kiss was a collision of warmth and need, tasting of hospital coffee and Aurora's expensive mint lip balm. When Maya finally pulled back, breathless, Aurora's eyes were wide, pupils dilated, her lips slightly swollen. "Wow," Aurora breathed, a dazed smile spreading across her face. The orderly whistled softly as he passed, shaking his head with a grin. Maya, usually mortified by public displays, felt only a fierce surge of possessiveness. She brushed her thumb over Aurora's damp lower lip. "Just needed that," Maya stated, her voice rough. "Remind her that you're real and mine." The possessiveness, so unlike her, felt terrifyingly right. Aurora's smile turned radiant, tinged with awe. "Anytime, doctor. Consider me medically necessary stress relief." The floodgates were open. Maya kissed Aurora in the relative privacy of an empty elevator. A quick hard press against the stainless steel wall before the doors pinged open on pediatrics. She kissed her lingeringly by the vending machines. Ignoring the amused glances of interns grabbing snacks, she kissed her softly, sweetly in the dimly lit hospital chapel after delivering difficult news. Seeking solace and finding it in the warmth of Aurora's mouth, the steadying grip of her hands. Aurora thrived on it. She adored Maya's newfound boldness. The way exhaustion stripped her down to pure, unfiltered emotion. There was no artifice, no game. Just Maya, raw and demanding and breathtakingly real. Aurora met her passion with equal fervor. She'd corner Maya in momentarily deserted supply closets, pressing her against shelves of bandages and saline bags, her kisses turning Maya's knees to water. She'd whisper scandalous promises in Maya's ear while pretending to examine the lunch menu in the bustling cafeteria, making Maya blush furiously while trying to maintain a professional demeanor. Their laughter became a constant soundtrack to their stolen moments. Breathless giggles after narrowly avoiding getting caught. Shared amusement at the absurdity of making out next to a crash cart. The tension wasn't just simmering anymore. It was a roaring blaze contained only by the constraints of time, place, and Maya's relentless duty. It built in lingering touches. Aurora's fingers tracing the line of Maya's jaw as she dropped off lunch. Maya's hand lingering on Aurora's waist a beat too long as she guided her out of a busy corridor. It built in heated glances across crowded rooms. In the way Aurora's gaze would drop to Maya's lips mid-sentence. In the low, husky tone Maya developed, just for Aurora. It finally combusted after a day that pushed Maya to her absolute limit. A multi-car pileup flooded the air. Maya worked for 10 straight hours, triaging, stitching, stabilizing, pronouncing. She saw too much blood, heard too many cries, felt the crushing weight of too many lives hanging in the balance. She emerged finally, long after her shift ended, covered in a fine sheen of other people's sweat and grime. Her scrub stained, her hands trembling slightly despite thorough washing. The emotional toll was a lead weight in her chest. She felt hollowed out, scraped raw. Aurora was waiting, as always, leaning against her car parked in the doctor's lot. Her usual brightness was tempered by the visible strain on Maya's face. Without a word, she opened the passenger door. Maya slumped into the plush leather seat, closing her eyes, the silence thick with Maya's unshed tears and bone-deep fatigue. The drive to Aurora's penthouse was quiet. Aurora didn't try to pad the silence with words. She simply reached across the console and wrapped Maya's cold, shaking hand in her own, threading their fingers. The plain contact felt like a lifeline. The penthouse might as well have been another planet, cool, tranquil, washed in the hush of city lights spilling through floor-to-ceiling glass. The air held Aurora's familiar perfume and something clean, spare, expensive. The quiet luxury felt almost jarring after the day's chaos. Wordless, Aurora guided Maya through the open living space toward her bedroom. "Shower, Aurora," offered softly, her voice gentle. "Or just sit." Maya only shook her head. The need for comfort, for oblivion, for anything to cut through numb horror and fatigue, swelled until it was all she knew. She turned to Aurora, eyes wide, city lights caught in them like distant stars. Without speaking, she stepped closer, closing the small gap. Her hands, still edged with the scent of antiseptic, came up to cradle Aurora's face. She searched Aurora's gaze and found warmth, understanding, and a banked flame that matched her own desperate need. The kiss was nothing like their teasing hospital exchanges. It was unhurried, deep, and achingly tender, a reaching for refuge, a wordless plea to be held. Maya poured everything into it. The fear, the grief, the bone-deep weariness, and the fierce, undeniable love that had grown in the madness. Aurora answered with equal gravity, arms sliding around Maya's waist, drawing her close, absorbing the tremors still rippling through her. The kiss deepened, growing hungrier, more urgent, a shared language of comfort and want. Sensing the shift, the desperation under Maya's gentleness, Aurora broke away only to press soft, steadying kisses to Maya's eyelids, her temples, the hollow at her throat. "I've got you," she murmured against Maya's skin, voice thick. "Let go, Maya. I've got you." She led her to the vast bed, its crisp white linens impossibly inviting. With patient hands, Aurora helped Maya out of the stained scrub's touches, practical yet reverent. Maya stood before her, bared not only in body but in spirit, slightly shaking, vulnerable in a way she'd never allowed with anyone. Aurora's eyes held no judgment, only awe and a profound tenderness. She traced the faint shadows under Maya's eyes, the clean line of her collarbone, the curve of her shoulder. "You're so beautiful," Aurora whispered, the words catching. "So strong, so real." Maya shivered, not from cold, but from the intensity in Aurora's gaze. The shelter she offered, the expected nerves fluttered, but they drowned beneath a tide of trust and the urgent need to be close. She reached for Aurora, fingers clumsy at the buttons of her blouse. "You too," she breathed. "Please." Aurora helped, slipping from her clothes with an easy grace that made Maya's breath hitch. Then skin met skin, and they sank into the cloud-soft bed. Aurora bent over her with deliberate care, every touch intentional, reverent. Her mouth mapped quiet paths along Maya's brow, the line of her jaw, the steady rise of her ribs, the tender inside of her wrist, not chasing heat so much as offering steadiness, anchoring her to the moment and easing her away from the day's ghosts. Each touch was a silent vow. "You are safe. You are here. You are loved." Maya arched into the closeness, breathing hard, the numbness ebbing under the flood of pure, exquisite feeling. The exhaustion transformed into a different kind of intensity. She tangled her hands in Aurora's hair, urging her closer, her own touches becoming bolder, more demanding, mapping the smooth planes of Aurora's back, the swell of her hips. She explored Aurora with a doctor's curiosity and a lover's reverence, learning the textures, the sounds Aurora made, the places that made her gasp or sigh. The pace was slow, deliberate, a counterpoint to the frantic energy of their hospital encounters. It wasn't just about release. It was about connection, about reaffirming life after confronting so much fragility. When Maya finally cried out, shuddering against Aurora's mouth, it was a release of days, weeks, months of pent-up tension and grief. Tears she hadn't shed leaked from the corners of her eyes. Aurora held her through it, whispering soothing words against her skin, her own climax crashing over her moments later, triggered by Maya's abandon. A shared wave of ecstasy and profound emotional release. Afterwards, they lay tangled in the sheets, limbs entwined, skin slick with sweat, breathing ragged. The city lights painted shifting patterns on the ceiling. Maya rested her head on Aurora's chest, listening to the strong, steady beat of her heart. The hollow ache was gone, replaced by a deep, warm languor and a sense of peace so profound it felt sacred. Aurora's fingers traced idle patterns on Maya's bare back. Maya tilted her head up, finding Aurora's eyes in the dim light. The nervousness was a distant memory replaced by a quiet wonder. That she began. Her voice, but steady, wasn't just stress relief. Aurora's smile was soft, luminous. She brushed a stray, damp strand of hair from Maya's forehead. "No, my love," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. That was coming home. Maya snuggled closer, pressing a kiss to the smooth skin above Aurora's heart. The horrors of the day hadn't vanished, but they felt manageable now, held at bay by the warmth of Aurora's body, the strength of her arms, and the tender, fiery passion that had finally, irrevocably, bound them together. The contract had dissolved. What remained was something infinitely more real, more terrifying, and more beautiful. A love forged in coffee shops and hospital corridors, sealed with sticky notes and break-room cuddles, and now finally, consecrated in the quiet sanctuary of Aurora's bed. Passion hadn't just awakened. It had roared to life, tender and fierce. A promise whispered on skin and sealed with every beat of their entwined hearts. Part 8. Falling madly. The first light of dawn filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Aurora's penthouse, painting the sleek minimalist room in streaks of pale gold and rose. Maya Ortiz lay awake, her head pillowed on Aurora's bare shoulder, the rhythmic rise and fall of Aurora's breathing a soothing counterpoint to the frantic beat of her own heart just hours before. The scent of their passion, sweat, Aurora's expensive perfume, and something uniquely them, still lingered in the air, mingling with the faint clean scent of the city waking up far below. Maya traced the elegant line of Aurora's collarbone with a fingertip, her touch feather-light. The events of the night replayed in her mind, not with clinical detachment, but with a visceral, consuming warmth. The nervousness that had fluttered in her stomach when they'd finally crossed the threshold. The way Aurora's patient playfulness had melted her apprehension, the shocking intensity of her own desire unleashed, the tenderness that had followed the fire. It hadn't just been sex. It had been a revelation, a claiming emerging that had shattered the carefully constructed compartments of her life. Aurora stirred, her eyelids fluttering open, sleepy, impossibly blue eyes focused on Maya, and a slow, utterly satisfied smile curved her lips. "Morning, Dr. Maya Ortiz," she murmured, her voice husky with sleep and something deeper. Her arm tightened around Maya's waist, pulling her closer. "Sleep well." Maya met her gaze, a surge of possessiveness, fierce and startling, tightening her chest. She shifted, rolling partially on top of Aurora, bracing herself on one elbow. Her eyes roamed Aurora's face, the faint smudge of last night's mascara, the kiss-bruised lips, the absolute trust and contentment radiating from her. The words tumbled out raw and unguarded, fueled by the lingering intimacy and the dawning certainty of what she'd just experienced. "Sleep," Maya echoed, her own voice rough. "Who needs sleep?" She leaned down, capturing Aurora's lips in a slow, deep kiss that tasted like shared secrets and promises. When she finally pulled back, breathless, she looked directly into Aurora's eyes, a playful challenge mixed with profound sincerity. "I think you've ruined me, Aurora Sinclair, completely, and utterly ruined me for sleeping alone ever again." Aurora's laugh was a low, delighted rumble against Maya's skin. Her hand slid up Maya's back, pulling her down into another kiss. "Is that a diagnosis, doctor?" she murmured against Maya's mouth. "Sounds terminal and utterly incurable, I hope." "Absolutely terminal," Maya confirmed, nipping playfully at Aurora's lower lip. "The prognosis is lifelong cohabitation required, strict monitoring, frequent reassessments." Her hand slid lower, tracing the curve of Aurora's hip, reigniting the embers that had barely cooled. Aurora gasped, arching into the touch, her eyes darkening. "Reassessment sound thorough," she managed, her breath catching. "I submit to your expert care." And so the rhythm began, not just the rhythm of their bodies finding each other again in the golden dawn light, slow and exploratory this time, savoring the new landscape of intimacy, but the rhythm of their lives irrevocably intertwining. Maya moved in, not officially, not with boxes and leases broken, but in every way that mattered. Her worn, comfortable toothbrush appeared next to Aurora's gold-plated one in the sleek marble bathroom. A pile of well-themed medical journals colonized a corner of Aurora's pristine glass coffee table. A familiar, slightly faded hoodie hung on the back of a designer dining chair. The penthouse, once a showpiece of curated elegance, began to bear the warm, lived-in marks of Maya's chaotic, vital presence. Aurora didn't just tolerate it, she reveled in it. She loved finding Maya's stethoscope draped over a sculpture, the smell of strong hospital coffee brewing in her state-of-the-art machine that usually only made espresso, the sight of Maya asleep on the vast sofa, bathed in the light of her laptop, a patient chart still open. Aurora became a master navigator of Maya's brutal schedule. She didn't just adapt, she anticipated. The midnight savior when Maya texted, "Just finished, brain fried, feet hate me." After a grueling double shift, Aurora wouldn't just be awake. She'd be waiting in Maya's tiny apartment, or later by the penthouse on Mayader, holding a thermos of hot chocolate spiked with a shot of Bailey's, a warm, damp towel scented with lavender for her feet, and a silent, open, armed invitation to simply collapse. She'd wordlessly take Maya's bag, guide her to the couch or bed, and simply hold her while the tremors of adrenaline and exhaustion subsided. The calendar whisperer. Aurora had Maya's on-call schedule memorized better than Maya did. She knew the days Maya was likely to be shattered, the days she might have a precious few hours free. She guarded those hours fiercely, shielding Maya from well-meaning but draining social obligations. Instead, planning quiet, restorative moments, ordering, and Maya's favorite comfort food, running a bath scattered with Epsom salts, or simply curling up together in silence. Aurora reading while Maya rested her head in her lap, Aurora's fingers gently carding through her hair. The nourishment ninja. The insulated lunch containers evolved. Now Aurora often included small, thoughtful extras. A packet of Maya's favorite gummy vitamins. She always forgot to buy a cooling eye mask for post-shift puffiness. A new ridiculously comfortable pair of compression socks decorated with tiny dinosaurs. For my T-Rex of the year. The sticky notes remained, often tucked into Maya's lab coat pocket or stuck to her locker. One after Maya had confided a difficult, patient loss read, "You carry so much. Let me carry you tonight. Just point me in the direction of the takeout menu. Your Sherper." Maya in turn began to carve moments of fierce tenderness into Aurora's world. Moments that defied her exhaustion and reshaped the penthouse into a home. The public claimed Maya stopped caring who saw. When Aurora arrived at the hospital, Maya would stride towards her, ignoring curious glances or raised eyebrows, pull her close and kiss her deeply, pouring all her pent-up longing and relief into the contact. It wasn't performative. It was primal. Adoration, mine. She'd kiss her in the bustling hallway outside there against the medication cart, in a momentarily quiet corridor, once memorably right in front of the intimidating Dr. Graham Whitaker, who merely cleared his throat and muttered, "At least someone's happy to see administration." Aurora thrived on it, her cheeks flushing with pleasure, her eyes shining with possessive delight. Maya's exhaustion stripped away inhibition, leaving only raw, honest desire and affection. The caretaker, Maya, despite her own fatigue, started noticing Aurora's subtle stresses. The tension in her shoulders after tense board meeting relayed over text, the slight frown when reading legal documents related to the inheritance. She'd appear behind Aurora's elegant desk chair, strong hands settling on her shoulders, thumbs digging into the knots with surprising medical precision. "Doctor's orders," she'd murmur, leaning down to press a kiss to Aurora's temple. "Stop hunching. You'll get a resident stoop." Or she'd wordlessly bring Aurora a cup of tea made correctly after careful instruction. When she looked pensive, curling up beside her on the sofa without speaking, offering silent solidarity, the unexpected homemaker, Maya, whose culinary skills peaked at microwaving leftovers, started trying. One Sunday, Aurora awoke to the smell of smoke and found Maya scowling fiercely at a frying pan, attempting pancakes that resembled charcoal briquettes. The fire alarm wailed. Aurora laughed until tears streamed down her face, then hugged Maya fiercely. Charred pancakes and all. My fierce, brilliant, domestically challenged love, she teased, kissing the flour smudge on Maya's nose. They ordered brunch. But the gesture, the effort from Maya, who had so little energy to spare, meant more than a perfect meal ever could. The passion didn't fade. It deepened, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. It was in the way Maya would push Aurora against the refrigerator for a hungry kiss while waiting for coffee. The way Aurora's hands would wander possessively under Maya's scrubs the moment they were alone. The shared showers that were less about hygiene and more about rediscovery. The lazy Sunday mornings spent tangled in sheets, talking, touching, simply being. One evening, Maya arrived home to the penthouse home. After an unusually smooth shift, Aurora was curled up on the sofa, sketching in a notebook, soft music playing. Maya dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, and walked straight over. She didn't say a word. She simply straddled Aurora's lap on the sofa, cuped her face, and kissed her with a slow, burning intensity that left them both breathless. When they finally parted, Aurora's sketchbook forgotten on the floor, her eyes were dark, her lips swollen. "Hello to you, too," she breathed, her hands settling on Maya's hips. Maya rested her forehead against Aurora's, her thumbs stroking Aurora's cheekbones. "I was sitting in report," she said, her voice low and rough with emotion, "listening to the overnight cases. And all I could think about was this. Coming home to you, touching you, the way you feel, the way you smell, the way you look at me like she swallowed, like I'm everything." She pulled back slightly, meeting Aurora's gaze, her own eyes shimmering with unshed tears and absolute conviction. "This started as the most insane, ill-advised proposition of my life. Aurora, Abe's our contract. But somewhere between your ridiculous sticky notes and smuggling me coffee at 3 a.m. She traced Aurora's lower lip. "Somewhere between holding me when I fall apart and kissing me like I'm oxygen. This became the most real, the most profound love I've ever known. I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not playing a role. I'm just yours. Madly, completely yours." Aurora's breath hitched. She pulled Maya fiercely against her, burying her face in Maya's neck, inhaling the scent of hospital soap and Maya. "And I'm yours," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "My brilliant, exhausted, beautiful doctor, my unexpected, perfect love, the inheritance. It feels like a footnote now. You are the legacy I want. This," she tightened her arms. "This messy, passionate, tender life we're building. This is forever." They held each other on the sofa as twilight deepened into night, the city lights glittering like scattered diamonds below. The frantic countdown to the wedding deadline still ticked in the background, but it felt distant, almost trivial. The bond they'd forged in coffee shops and hospital corridors through texts and touch, through shared exhaustion and explosive passion, was the Raleigh foundation. Maya Ortiz, the pragmatic resident who lived by logic and schedules, had fallen madly, irrevocably in love, and Aurora Sinclair, the ace who'd gambled on a stranger's wit, had found her forever in the arms of the woman who kept showing up, scrubs and all. They weren't just sharing a bed. They were building a life, one chaotic, tender, passionately real moment at a time. The marriage might be a formality on the horizon, but the love story was already written in their entwined hands, their shared breaths, and the profound, unshakable certainty that had settled deep within their bones. They were home. Part 9. The Wedding Countdown. The air in Aurora's penthouse thrummed with a different kind of energy now. The easy intimacy of shared mornings and passionate nights remained, but beneath it, woven into the fabric of their days, was the insistent, accelerating tick-tock of the inheritance deadline. 37 days had dwindled to a mere 7. The abstract concept of getting married had transformed into a tangible, looming reality. Maya was elbowed deep in a complex patient chart late one evening, when Aurora stretched out on the sofa sketching wedding gown ideas, mostly impractical, fantastical creations involving layers of jewel and live doves. Casually dropped the bomb. So Aurora began, her voice deceptively light, pencil scratching against paper. "I was thinking, the day after tomorrow." Maya's stylus skidded across her tablet screen, leaving a jagged digital line through a vital sign graph. She slowly looked up. "Come again." Her voice was carefully neutral, the voice she used when a patient suggested questionable home remedies. "The wedding," Aurora clarified, finally looking up, her blue eyes wide and impossibly innocent. "Day after tomorrow, Saturday. Seems practical. No, gives us Friday for whatever frantic last-minute things need frantic last-minute doing." She gestured vaguely with her pencil. "Flowers, cake, vows, that sort of thing." Maya stared. She carefully set her tablet aside, picked up her lukewarm tea, took a deliberate sip, swallowed, and promptly choked, coughing as tea went down the wrong pipe. Aurora was immediately at her side, steadying her back with surprising strength amid her laughter. "Breathe, love, breathe." Aurora got out between giggles. Maya finally drew a full breath, tears streaking her cheeks, half from choking, half from pure, overwhelming hilarity. She swiped her eyes and looked at Aurora. whose face was alight with mischief and barely veiled excitement. Day after tomorrow, Maya rasped. Aurora, people scheduled dentist visits with more notice. We don't have a venue, rings, clothes, details. Aurora flicked a hand, airy, though Maya caught the faint tremor of nervous energy under the bravado. We have friends. We have funds. We have, she leaned in, voice dipping to a conspiratorial whisper. Motivation. Grandmother's attorneys are getting jittery. And honestly, she added, gaze softening as she held Maya's. I'm tired of waiting to call you my wife. The naked sincerity in Aurora's voice, the quiet longing beneath the theatrical delivery, punctured Maya's disbelief. A rush of warmth, fierce and urgent, rolled through her. She looked at Aurora, her partner in this beautiful, absurd chaos. The woman who'd rearranged her entire orbit to fit Maya's exhaustion, who kissed her in hospital corridors and held her through the blackest nights. The woman she adored, madly and wholly. The inheritance was the spark. The wish to bind herself to Aurora, officially and irrevocably, was entirely her own. Maya started laughing anew, a deep, honest sound that bubbled up from her chest. She reached, cupping Aurora's face. You, she declared, shaking her head, are completely, certifiably unhinged. She kissed her, hard and quick. And so am I, because fine day after tomorrow. Let's get married. Chaos, fueled by love, caffeine, and Aurora's apparently bottomless contact list, followed. The dress stash at dawn landed them in an appointment only 8 lire. That Aurora had somehow charmed into an emergency session. Maya, dizzy with silk and satin, gravitated to clean, minimalist lines. She stepped from the fitting room in a column gown of ivory crepe, its spare elegance framing her strong shoulders and the graceful length of her neck. The back dipped subtly, just a whisper of sensuality. It felt like her. Sophisticated, grounded, effortlessly lovely. She turned for Aurora's opinion only to find Aurora staring, hand pressed to her mouth, tears bright in her eyes. Maya, Aurora breathed, voice thick. You look like a dream I didn't know I had. She fanned her face. Theatrical. If I faint, it's aesthetic overload. You're marrying a fairy tale. Darling, brace for paparazzi. Maya rolled her eyes, though a blush warmed her cheeks. Says the woman who looks like she walked off a couture runway. Aurora had chosen a breathlessly romantic gown, layers of delicate ivory lace, over silk, cap sleeves, and a subtle train. Dramatic, elegant, unmistakably Aurora. Nonsense, Aurora sniffed, blotting carefully at her eyes. I'm merely the grateful audience for the main event, which is you. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. She stepped close, adjusting a non-existent strap on Maya's shoulder, her touch lingering. My practical, brilliant, devastatingly gorgeous. Dr. Bride. The friend brigade Tessa Hart and Liam Chen became their wedding war council. Tessa, with her impeccable taste and social reach, secured a luminous, intimate garden terrace at a private club Aurora belonged to. Consider it a gift from the universe. And my black AMX, Tessa quipped. She also magically produced a renowned caterer, string quartet, photographer, permits, florals, and lighting, all on rush. Liam wrangled logistics, timelines, seating, and vows with surgical calm. Flexible, efficient. He owes me for the Hamptons incident. Liam Chen, practical and slightly shell-shocked, became the logistics guru. Flowers. Liam Chen muttered, scrolling through his phone at Aurora's kitchen. Island, surrounded by fabric swatches. Right, non-allergenic. Got it, Maya. Pion's okay, or are they secretly plotting against your sinuses? Maya, trying on delicate pearl earrings Tessa Hart had produced, nodded. Peonies are safe. Unlike Aurora's initial idea of lies, those are basically pollen grenades. Aurora pouted. They're dramatic. They're biological warfare for anyone with hay fever. Maya countered, grinning. Peonies are perfect. Liam Chen, thank you. She watched Liam Chen and Tessa Hart bicker good-naturedly about napkin folds. I can't believe you're both doing this. Tessa Hart paused, looking genuinely touched. Darling, after the coffee shop spectacle, we're invested. Plus, seeing Aurora actually flustered about something other than her hair is priceless entertainment. She winked at Aurora, who stuck out her tongue. Liam Chen nodded. And you, go save lives. You deserve this. All of it. Even the chaos. He gave her a rare warm smile. Just promise you won't actually fall asleep standing up. Try to stay conscious until I do. Hospital interlude. Wedding planning bled into hospital life. Maya found herself discussing cake flavors with Carmen Patel while suturing a laceration. Chocolate ganache or lemon raspberry? Carmen Patel, seriously, your opinion matters. Ganache Maya Ortiz, less likely to stain the gown when you inevitably spill it. She texted Aurora fabric options from the break room. Lace sample A looks like Grandma's doily. Sample B, less doily, more sexy spiderweb. Thoughts? Aurora, spiderweb. Deadly elegance, perfect for ensnaring your bride. The midnight panic. The night before the wedding. The carefully constructed facade of organized chaos cracked. Maya found Aurora not asleep, but pacing the penthouse living room in her silk robe, muttering about chair rentals and the potential for rain. Her usual composure was frayed, replaced by a vulnerability Maya rarely saw. What if it rains? Aurora fretted, wringing her hands. The terrace is only half covered, and the florist just called. The peonies might be slightly to blush, not ivory enough. And what if I trip walking down the makeshift aisle? What if I forget my lines? What if? Maya stepped into her path, catching her restless hands. Aurora, breathe. She pulled her close, wrapping her arms firmly around her. Listen to me. So what if it rains? We'll get wet. It'll be romantic. Or we'll cram everyone inside and it'll be cozy. The peonies will be perfect. You could walk down an aisle lined with rabid badges and still look like a goddess. And you won't forget your lines because there are no lines. Just say what you feel. Maya pressed a kiss to Aurora's forehead. This isn't about the perfect flowers or the flawless weather. It's about us standing in front of our friends and promising forever. That's all that matters. Aurora sagged against her, the tension draining away. She buried her face in Maya's neck. You're right, she mumbled. Of course you're right. I want it to be perfect for you. It already is, Maya whispered, holding her tight. Because it's you, it's me, it's us. She guided Aurora to the vast window overlooking the glittering city. Look, tomorrow night, we'll be married officially. Legally, madly. She turned Aurora to face her, framing her face with her hands. I'm not nervous about tripping. I'm nervous. So, I'll look at you walking towards me and forget how to speak entirely. Or that I'll start crying so hard Carmen Patel has to incubate me midvo. Aurora laughed, a watery, relieved sound. She leaned in, resting her forehead against Maya's. I'll have Liam Chen standing by with tissues and a defibrillator just in case. She kissed Maya slow and deep, pouring all her jittery excitement and profound love into the contact. My brilliant, grounding, perfect Maya. Tomorrow you become my wife. The words sent a thrill through both of them, solidifying the reality. The countdown wasn't a pressure cooker anymore. It was the final exhilarating climb before the leap into forever. The frantic energy of the last 48 hours, the dress fittings, the flower deliveries, the chaotic conference call with the caterer. Aurora insisting on Maya's favorite spicy tuna rolls as a late-night snack. The sheer absurdity of planning a wedding in a blink was underpinned by a profound, joyful certainty. Banter flew like confetti. Maya worrying about dozing off during the ceremony. Aurora teasing about fainting from Maya's beauty. Liam Chen double-checking. The rings weren't going to be swallowed by an overzealous ring-bearer. Tessa Hart's impeccably trained poodle, Marcel, through the laughter and the last-minute panics. The shared glances between Maya and Aurora spoke volumes. This wasn't just meeting a deadline. This was stepping into the future they'd built. hand in hand, scrubs and silk and all, ready to say, I do to the wild, wonderful, perfectly imperfect love they'd found against all odds. The final countdown had begun, not to an inheritance, but to the first day of the rest of their lives together. Part 10. Marriage and Legacy. The private garden terrace of the Seacliff Club was transformed. Twilight bled into indigo. The first stars winking overhead like scattered diamonds. Thousands of tiny fairy lights twinned through potted lemon trees and climbing jasmine, casting a warm, magical glow over the intimate gathering. The scent of peonies, the perfect shade of ivory blush. Liam Chen confirmed with relief and night blooming. Flowers mingled with the salty tang of the ocean breeze drifting up from the cliffs below. Soft cello music wove through the air. Maya stood at the end of a petal-strewn path, her hand tucked firmly in the crook of Liam Chen's arm. She wore the sleek column of ivory crepe, its simplicity radiating quiet confidence. Her dark hair was swept back in an elegant twist, a few tendrils escaping to frame her face, which glowed not with makeup, but with a profound incandescent happiness that rendered her breathtaking. She clutched a small bouquet of peonies and eucalyptus, her knuckles white for a moment as she scanned the faces of their closest friends, Tessa Hart dabbing her eyes discreetly, Carmen Patel looking uncharacteristically misty-eyed, a few fellow residents grinning. Her gaze finally landed on the makeshift arbor draped in sheer ivory silk, and woven with more fairy lights and jasmine. And there, waiting for her, was Aurora. Aurora stood beside Tessa Hart, radiant in her lace gown, the delicate cap sleeves and flowing skirt catching the soft light. Her blonde hair was an artful cascade of waves, a single pearl clip holding one side back. But it was her expression that stole Maya's breath. Aurora Sinclair, the A's accustomed to commanding attention, looked utterly transfixed. Her blue eyes, wide and shimmering with unshed tears, were locked solely on Maya. All traces of her usual playful dramatics were gone, replaced by a raw, overwhelming love and all that shone brighter than any star. A tremulous smile touched her lips as Maya began her walk. Liam Chen squeezed Maya's arm. Deep breaths. Maya Ortiz. Try not to bolt for the coffee station. His voice was thick with emotion despite the joke. Maya managed a shaky laugh, her eyes never leaving Aurora. The music swelled gently. Each step felt momentous yet inevitable. The world narrowed to the path, the music, and Aurora's luminous gaze pulling her forward like a magnet. She saw the way Aurora's breath hitched as she drew nearer, saw the single tear escape and tracked down her cheek, quickly brushed away by Tessa Hart with a whispered, "Oh, darling." Reaching the arbor, Liam Chen placed Maya's hand in Aurora's. Their fingers intertwined instantly, a familiar anchor. Aurora's hand trembled slightly in Maya's grasp, but her grip was firm, sure. She lifted Maya's hand to her lips, pressing a fervent kiss to her knuckles. Her eyes sang everything words couldn't yet capture. Maya felt her own tears welling, a lump forming in her throat. The efficient, a gentle-faced man Tessa Hart had lined up, began. Yet his words were a far-off murmur. Maya and Aurora were absorbed in each other. When it was time for vows, Aurora went first. She clasped both of Maya's hands, her voice steady and ringing, though thick with feeling. "Maya Ortiz," she said, gaze unwavering. "When I propositioned you in that cafe 37 days ago, I assumed I was being clever, desperate perhaps. A touch unhinged, absolutely." A ripple of easy laughter moved through the intimate crowd. But what I failed to understand was that I was stumbling blindfolded toward the finest treasure of my life. You stepped into my orbit with your scrubs, your sarcasm, and your profound, bone-deep fatigue, and you shattered every carefully arranged illusion I carried. You showed me what real strength looks like, what true love feels like. You taught me that home isn't a penthouse or an estate, but the breath between us, the heat of your palm in mine, the way you kiss me like oxygen. Her voice hitched. You are my ballast, my unlikely joy, my brave defender, and my safest harbor. Today, I'm not marrying you to satisfy a will. I marry you because the thought of tomorrow without you is impossible. I vow to be your constant support, your partner in the mayhem, your smuggler of lunches, your sticky note artist, and the woman who loves you wildly, deeply, forever. I am yours, Maya. Entirely. Tears were sliding freely down Maya's cheeks. Now, she squeezed Aurora's hands, drawing steadiness from her touch. She pulled a shaky breath, voice rough at first, then stronger as she looked into Aurora's tearful eyes. Aurora, Maya began, voice thick. You called your proposal a prescription for romance. Consider me thoroughly medicated. Another warm laugh. You exploded into my clockwork life of shifts and survival like a supernova. You looked past the exhaustion and the cynicism to the person buried there. And you didn't merely accept her, you cherished her. You brought light to the darkest corners of my longest nights, warmth to those sterile halls, and a fierce, unwavering care I never thought existed. You appeared again and again with coffee, with meals, with hot chocolate at 2 a.m. and most of all, with your big, beautiful, ridiculous heart. Maya's voice trembled. You taught me it's okay to lean, to be cared for, to want something for myself. You made me believe in magic again, not the fairy tale sort, but the messy, breathtaking magic of being truly seen and loved. I promise to be your anchor amid the glittering chaos, your champion, your safe landing, and the woman who kisses you in public whenever the urge hits. She smiled through tears, a radiant, open expression Aurora had never seen before. I promise to love you fiercely, faithfully, and with every exhausted, grateful beat of my heart. Today, tomorrow, and all the days to come. I am yours, Aurora madly. The efficient's voice carried them onward through the ring's simple platinum bands they'd chosen together in a frantic, giggling hour the day before. As they slid them onto one another's fingers, the weight felt less like metal and more like a profound, tangible promise settling into place. By the power vested in me, the efficient declared, his own voice warmed with feeling. I now pronounce you married. You may kiss your wife. The cheer that rose was loud and heartfelt. Yet Maya and Aurora barely noticed. They were already moving toward each other. Aurora's hands framed Maya's face. Maya's arms circled Aurora's waist, pulling her close. Their kiss was not a chaste peck for show, it was lingering, joyous, and sure, a kiss that sealed promises and hushed crowds. A kiss tasting of relief, daring the future to try them, and making the moment blaze brighter than lights overhead right then. Truly, it was deep, passionate, acclaiming, and a celebration, pouring weeks of building tension, shared vulnerability, and overwhelming love into the contact. It was a kiss that silenced the cheers for a moment, leaving only the soft music and the sigh of the ocean breeze. When they finally parted, breathless, foreheads resting together, the applause erupted. Again, louder, punctuated by Tessa Hart's joyful sob and Liam Chen's loud whistle. The reception was a whirlwind of laughter, tears, and incredible food. Maya did not fall asleep mid-vow, though she did sway slightly during the toasts, prompting Aurora to slip an arm firmly around her waist. Aurora did not faint, though she did need Carmen Patel to hand her tissues multiple times. They danced under the fairy lights, Maya surprisingly graceful despite her exhaustion, Aurora radiant in her wife's arms. They laughed with friends, ate spicy tuna rolls at midnight, and stole kisses whenever they could. The weight of the inheritance, signed over by Aurora's grandmother's lawyers with stoic efficiency during the cocktail hour, felt like a distant formality. The real legacy was standing right there, holding her hand, her wife. Life didn't magically become simple. Maya still worked brutal hours. The pager still shrieked. But now Maya Ortiz returned home, not to a lonely apartment, but to a penthouse, filled with warmth, art, medical journals, and Aurora. She marveled daily at the transformation from the relentless grind of survival to a life overflowing with love. The passion, far from fading, deepened into a comfortable, enduring flame. Maya still kissed Aurora with breathtaking boldness whenever she visited the hospital. In their bay after tough case, leaning against the nurse's station, once even stealing a kiss while Aurora was handing out pastries to the night shift. The staff no longer whispered. They smiled. Dr. Maya Ortiz and her wife. They'd say fondly, Aurora remained the princess with the lunchboxes, though her deliveries now often included extras for Maya's favorite interns or Carmen Patel's notoriously sweet tooth. The sticky notes evolved too, sometimes tucked into Maya's white coat pocket. Thinking of my wife. Also, did you eat? CXO. Remembered your 300 p.m. consult. Hydration stat attached. Ridiculously expensive electrolyte drink. Saw this and thought of your smile. Also, the poodle looks like Marcel after his grooming disaster. Remember? Attached to a cartoon of a disgruntled poodle. Their nights ended the way they began, tangled together in Aurora's vast bed. Now their bed. Maya's head on Aurora's shoulder, Aurora's fingers tracing idle patterns on Maya's back, the city lights painted patterns on the ceiling. The frantic countdown was a memory replaced by the steady, comforting rhythm of their shared life. One such night weeks after the wedding, Maya traced the platinum band on Aurora's finger. So, Mrs. Sinclair is, she murmured, a playful glint in her eye. What's our next adventure? Scaling Marsh Pichu, adopting a rescue capybara, taking over a small, poorly run hospital. Aurora laughed, the sound vibrating against Maya's skin. She turned her head, capturing Maya's lips in a slow, tender kiss. My dearest wife, she whispered against Maya's mouth. Every single day with you is the adventure. From break room cuddles to dodging Carmen Patel's glare when we get to handsy near the defibrillator. She kissed Maya again, deeper this time. But since you asked, how about we start with a long weekend somewhere with no pagers, no inheritance lawyers, and a very large bed? Just us, the heirs and her doctor, the wife and her wife. Maya smiled, a slow, contented curve of her lips. She nestled closer, breathing in the scent that meant home. Aurora's perfume, clean linen, and love. Prescription accepted. Mrs. Ortiz. Sinclair, she murmured, already drifting toward sleep, safe and cherished. Just us. That sounds like the perfect next chapter. The inheritance had been the catalyst, the spark in a coffee shop, but the enduring flame, the legacy that truly mattered, was the wild, improbable, fiercely beautiful love story they'd written together. One chaotic shift, one sticky note, one passionate kiss, and one shared sunrise at a time. Their forever had begun, not with a deadline, but with a whispered I do, and it promised a lifetime of adventures, big and small, fueled by a love that had defied every odd and bloomed brilliantly in the unlikeliest of places. They were married. They were home. They were just beginning.